Hello, everybody. This is Philip Martin. This is On Film on Video. I'm back after a week off, and I needed that week off. I needed that week off for a couple of reasons, and some of them are none of your business. But one of the reasons I needed the week off is because this is the next to worst time of the year for movies of the year. The worst time is right after the first of the year. Really, it's right at the end of January, February, and we still are getting things trickling in, like really good movies that just didn't open here in the previous year, that opened around Christmas time for, award-seeking things, foreign films are still coming in. But a lot of studios are just dumping stuff, and there's really some bad product out there. What we've got at the end of, mid-August, the dog days. I think after Jordan Peele released Nope, that was sort of it. It's like we had summer, and then it just sort of drops off the cliff. And I ought to take this time off. I really should, because it's just kind of depressing. I mean, it's depressing for a number of reasons. Even the good films that come out now are films that aren't promising, aren't seen as, promising movies. I mean, like last week, the Aubrey Plaza movie, Emily the Criminal came out. Emily the Criminal is a good film. It's not going to make anybody's end of the year top 10 list. It will, but it's not going to be a movie that you're going to hear a lot of talk about in award season, I don't believe. It's going to be swamped by the movies that are going to come out in late September, October, November, and December. That's basically what's going to happen. It's a small kind of, it's not really a comedy, it's kind of a plausible horror movie, but it's really going to get swamped. It's just one of those films that's not going to, nobody's going to remember at the end of the year. This week, what do we have? Well, we have Spin Me Round, which is another Aubrey Plaza movie, which is, and I actually had hopes for it because it's written and directed, well, it was co-written and directed by Jeff Baena, who, work I like a lot. I mean, he first kind of made a dent because he was the co-writer of I Heart Huckabees back in 2004, was it? Was it that long ago? Anyway, he did a movie called... this last movie, I think, was Horse Girl, which was 2 years ago. And before that, he did a really funny film, which is a lot like Spin Me Round in that it has a lot of the same people. And it was co-written by Alison Brie, who stars in a movie called The Little Hours, which I thought was really a funny take on a Chaucerian tale set in the Middle Ages, but with actors who were acting totally contemporary. And it was very funny. So I was hopeful that Spin Me Round might be good. I haven't seen it. The reviews seem to say it's not very good. Our review seems to say it's not very good. I will probably see it because I'm a Jeff Baena fan. But the fact it's being released in August 19th also doesn't bode well for it. It will quickly be forgotten. Another movie, Delia's Gone. It sounds like a TV movie to me. I could be wrong. It could be great, and I think Keith Garlington actually liked it a little bit. The movie that was going to lead our section, Beast, which I know nothing about. I didn't read anything about it because I was waiting for the review to come in. And what happened with our review, and this happens sometimes. Dan Leibarger, who was assigned to do the review, fell down and went boom, broke his wrist. And even though he was talking about going ahead and writing the review, I think it kind of sunk in that he wasn't going to be able to do that. I don't know whether he went to the screening or not, but he wasn't able to write a review. So we don't have a review of Beast. And that would have been the lead movie, mainly because it was the biggest, widest release that was coming out. The one that we do have as the lead movie is a little movie. It's a movie called A Love Song, and it's basically a two-character thing. There are other characters who come in for a minute, but it's two of my favorite actors, Dale Dickey and Wes Studi. And basically the story is that they were high school not really sweethearts, but they knew each other in high school, and maybe they were interested in each other or whatever, and they lived their lives, and now they're coming back together as, well, I guess they're in their early 60s, or, and it's a very interesting, very grown-up film. Has a PG rating, so, I have to, but it's a very sweet film, and it's a film I liked quite a lot, but it is sort of underpowered. And what saves it, I think, is it's only 81 minutes long, and it's a movie you can watch and you can go about. But I think, again, and it's a great showcase for Dickie, who's a wonderful, wonderful actor, who was in Winter's Bone. You'll remember her from that, and she was in Leave No Trace, and she's always played this sort of character. And Piers Marchant, who wrote the review for it, nails it. He says it's really, her character's always been defined by her face, which is not a reconstructed fashion model's face. I mean, it's a real lived-in face. And she's lovely, but it is a real lived-in face. Studi is also that kind of actor I really, really like. I mean, I just saw him on Reservation Dogs, which is now back on, and he's really always been one of my favorite actors. Always been. We saw him in something recent. Oh, it was Heat. He's got a rather small part in Heat. When he was pretty early in his career, but he's always fun to watch. So it's just fun to watch and spend some time with these two really good actors. But it's not the sort of film that's going to draw a lot of people to the theaters. More people are going to see this on pay-per-view or streaming service or something like that. It will be somebody's favorite movie, and it will get some attention, I think, at the end of the year. I don't think there'll be any Oscar nominations come out of it, but I know. But there will be Independent Spirit Award nominations come out of it, so they'll have that. But it's just not a great week for the movies. I mean, it just isn't. Well, I'm back. We had some technical difficulties, as we sometimes do, and I forgot what I was talking about. Well, anyway, so until after Toronto, which I'm going to this year, and I haven't been to Toronto since 2008, which means I have been away from Toronto for as many years as I was going to Toronto prior to that. So, yippee for me. I'm really looking forward to it. Don't know where I'm staying yet. I don't know a lot of stuff. I haven't been there since they've changed over to a new venue, the Bell Center. I'm going to experience it as a tourist, pretty much, and we hope that I will have what I think I'm going to do is every morning and every afternoon I'm going to film a little diary of what is going on at the film festival. I think I can do that on my phone, or I can do it on an iPad, and we will put it together in a video form for you guys later. We'll see how that does. That's one of the things that we really want to do with this, whatever it is. And we want to do other things with the section. I'm trying to get away from the traditional. Now that we're deep into this, we can talk. We're you and I, right? I'm trying to get away from the traditional, here's the movie, here's the review sort of thing. I mean, we're still going to do a lot of that. We're still going to review the movies we get to review, but we don't want to be a slave to the publicity machine of Hollywood and to, just to serve as this is an ad for this movie that's opening this week, because we're having a lot more trouble having access to these movies, and I've explained this before. It's an economic thing. It's the movies, the studios do not screen in Little Rock, Arkansas anymore. They do send out a lot of screeners, a lot of links and things like that we can watch on our iPads or on our computer, and we can definitely go through and we'll see the movie. But it's different seeing a movie on an iPad than it is on a big screen. And of course, Piers and Dan, based in respectively Philadelphia and Kansas City, do get they're shot at a number of screenings a week. Like I said, Dan missed his this week because he broke his wrist. Get better, Dan. We need you. And yeah, in a way, I don't think it's that big a deal that we're reviewing it on an iPad or off a computer screen, and we're sitting there by ourselves, and maybe stop and pause and push it back and roll it back and then roll it forward. I don't really think that's such a big a deal because every time you see a movie, you see it, in different circumstances and in different conditions, and maybe you never see it in the ideal condition for you, or you see it with a bunch of people. If you're watching a comedy, you want to be in a room with a bunch of people, preferably strangers, and you can get caught up in it. And the experience of going to see a comedy is sometimes better than the movie itself. It's often better than the movie itself. That's part of it. And if you see the movie in that sort of situation, well, then you can comment on that. If you don't see the movie in that situation, well, it's not available to you. But there's always things that are and are not available to you in every single viewing that you do of a movie. So I'm not that big a stickler about it. I mean, sort of like talk about the experience, talk about how the movie worked or did not work on you. That's sort of what we do. And that's one of the reasons that I don't know why anybody would get mad that they don't agree with a review. I mean, yeah, I do sort of, if you're a real big, sort of into the Star Wars sect or whatever, and you really are into that and you really don't want to hear any blasphemy, okay. I understand that. I don't agree with it, obviously. I obviously think that you need to get out in the world a little more, but I honestly understand it because I feel the same way. I don't voice that sort of sentiment, but I understand it. I certainly feel it when someone says something that doesn't track with what I think about a particular, I don't know, work of art or whatever, and they're criticizing it, and I think, well, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, that's fine. We don't know what we're talking about sometimes, compared to those of you who have deep esoteric knowledge, Gnostic knowledge of, the DCU or the MCU or Star Wars or Star Trek or any of that stuff. And I'm not saying it's bad to be a Trekkie or a Star Wars geek or whatever, because it's always... It's an avenue of delight that's available to you, and I'm really happy for you because it's great to be a nerd and nerd out on things that you enjoy. I really think that we all ought to be nerds about something, like guitars or golf clubs or baseball or to name any number of things, pop music, any number of things that I nerd out on all the time, or movies. I nerd out on movies too, but I've got, I hope, a sort of an appreciation for the fact that we're all individual minds, and it strikes us differently. There are things I don't get in your average, science fiction knockoff. There are homages that that won't register with me. Like I wrote a column the other day, and it was a pretty serious column, and I conflated the old preacher Jonathan Edwards, the fire and brimstone preacher Jonathan Edwards, with Jonathan Edwards, the pop singer who sang Sunshine. And I did that for humorous effect, but I had a friend who sent me a note and goes, well, I don't get this. And I say, well, Google Jonathan Edwards and Sunshine. And he said, well, I did, and I get it. This guy named Jonathan Edwards sang this song, Sunshine, but I still don't understand why you're referring to Jonathan Edwards, the theologian and 18th century preacher, as Sunshine Edwards. I said, well, you just don't get the joke. And sometimes you don't get the joke. And it's okay not to get the joke. Though if you don't get the joke on a consistent basis, maybe you should think about that. Maybe you should consider that maybe you don't have a sense of humor. Anyway, we were talking about Toronto. Were we talking about Toronto? I don't know. I hope to see Piers there, and I hope to see that a few of my, I guess a lot of the old guard is gone. A lot of people I used to know, because they either lost their gig, their reviewing gig, because back when I used to go, most of the people that I knew, that I hung out with, were newspaper critics, and I don't know any newspaper critics anymore, with the exception of Ann Hornaday, who I've never actually met in person, and maybe a couple of others whose names are excuse me, escaping me right now. But I don't know who's going to be there. I don't know what sort of media presence is going to be there. I'm going to be there, and Piers is going to be there, and a few other, critics are going to be there. I'm sure a lot more critics, but I'm sure most of them I don't know, and they have no idea who I am. So it'll be really interesting to go back, having this these old memories of Toronto, and we'll see where that leads. Okay, lastly this week, we had the series finale of Better Call Saul, which wrapped up a couple nights ago, and I watched it, and I have to say that I really am more a Better Call Saul person than a Breaking Bad person, but I think that's, Vince Gilligan and company, we ought to expect them to get better, as it goes along. And I think that Better Call Saul was, in fact, a better series than Breaking Bad. Now, there are things that I didn't really expect Better Call Saul to be as good or as affecting as I found it, because it's basically the comic relief guy from, Breaking Bad having a spinoff, and I thought, it was going to be a funny show. It was going to be more a, kind of a half-hour sort of sitcom kind of version of what we had just seen. It turned out not to be that at all. It was really emotionally affecting. I hear people who are criticizing the finale, and I don't want to get into it too, because spoilers and the spoiler police out there and stuff like that. Yeah, the law stuff, the legal stuff, I can understand why lawyers would say that's never going to happen. That's not the way these things work. This is not how, this is not criminal procedure. This is not what we do. Okay, I get that. Fine. When they make movies about writers and journalists and stuff like that, I feel the same way. I'm like going, no, you don't do that. That's not, you do, the Jeffrey Schumacher movie where the kid writes for the New York Times, and his first piece gets published, and it's called The Meaning of Life, and it's on the front page. Yeah, I understand that if you're into the subject, you're probably not going to find it terribly accurate. That's not the point. I did find it emotionally resonant, and I'm sort of interested in how it sets up. It really does set up a Kim Wexler movie or series, and I would really enjoy that, because I would really enjoy to see Rhea Seehorn continue in this character. Though I might just as soon see her in a new character in a new situation. I don't know. I mean, sort of like at the end of the show, everybody kind of gets what they deserve. That's all I'll say. I mean, and maybe you don't agree with that, but I think that there are a couple loose ends that are hanging out there. There are a couple of scenarios that would need to be resolved. I do think it would be an interesting thing to see where she goes from this, though it might be a really boring series about somebody helping people. It's funny because network TV used to have us all in this kind of I don't know. It used to be the place where everybody gathered. It was water cooler material. It was stuff now it's more or less, I'm asking people, well, what have you streamed? What are you streaming? Things that, I might watch in a month or watch in 2 months or whatever. It's not, I don't pay as much attention to the drop dates. I know a lot of people do it a lot, but I don't binge. Sort of like I like the series that come out, in a week, one a week. I that's just the rhythm I'm in. That's just the way that okay, boomer, that's me. Um, Trying to think what we're really we're watching the Katrina series on HBO, which name escapes me now, and it's pretty good. It's interesting. It's about 5 days at Memorial. I knew we'd come up with it, and I like it because it has some really good actors who I like a lot: Vera Farmiga and Sherry Jones. And it's sort of got that same Breaking Bad dynamic where it shows you how ordinary decent people end up making horrific decisions. um, I don't think that I should say too much more about it, but it's sort of like, and there was This Is Gonna Hurt, which is Ben Wislaw's series on Sundance. I think it was on Sundance. You might have also be able to get it on Amazon Prime and Hulu. I don't know. I know that you can get it on Sundance because I watched it on Sundance, and it was an excellent medical drama, which was had full of black humor and was based on a true story, or a man's memoir anyway. Um, I'm watching. I just started The Beauty Queen of Jerusalem. I think that's on Netflix. It's on Netflix. It's on Netflix. Uh, I'm waiting for Reservation Dogs is back on Hulu. So check that out. We talked about Wes Studi and Dale Dickey earlier. Well, Wes Studi's got a small part in that, or he showed up in that, and maybe it was just a cameo. Maybe he won't be back, but he's in the second season. And other than that, I'm looking for recommendations. So if you got them, send them to me or put them below. Can you even make comments? I don't know. I don't know if we even allow comments in this thing. If we don't, well, you can always get me, that's for sure. People do. People always do. I will also add, as an aside, I've had terrible problems with my email for like the last year. So if you sent me an email and I didn't answer it, it's because I have terrible problems with my email. We're trying to work that out. We're trying to work through all this. We're just trying to get through this. We're almost through the pandemic now. It seems like it's not a big deal anymore. We're going back to the theaters. But now we've got nothing to draw us to the theaters. So, anyway, we will see you next week, I promise. And when I go to Toronto, I'm going to film stuff for you. Okay, guys. Talk to you later. Bye.